Welcome to the Nailed It Wall.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Nailed It Wall. This week on the Nailed It Wall, we're going to talk about the announcements. That's right, people. The announcements are back, taken over by myself and Mrs. Schofield.
Woohoo!
Mostly Mrs. Schofield.
It's a great time.
We've also rolled out Astro Camp. We're going to talk about 2 sessions of Moxie Girls, the power of Minecraft, and we're going to talk briefly about the I.c.C Kickoff Conference. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to the Nailed It Wall. I'm Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And I'm Mrs. Schofield.
As we start off every week, we always talk about how we nailed it, how we failed it, and all those things that kind of made our week spectacular. Now, how have you nailed it this past week?
So in a good way, I had some really cool opportunities to roll the podcasting things out with the kids. But one thing that I really, really liked was 2 kids really stood out to me. And one of them was a student that's, she's autistic. And she decided to talk about what her experiences are as a student, just as a person that has autism, and just kind of share her views. And so today I got to sit down with her outside and kind of interview her, and her ability to be so vulnerable and so articulate about kind of her perspective of that was something, I mean, to me, it was such an honor that someone would be willing to put herself in that position. But one of the things that she talked about was not any kind of a learning difficulty. It was how other people have treated her during her life, and just kind of that experience for her, and her message to young kids with autism was really, really powerful. So that was definitely one of my favorite parts of, in the last week, but definitely today I just blown away. Yeah.
It's truly, truly amazing. Some of the topics the kids really wanted to tackle. So cool that you wanted to roll this out. I love the conversation you were having with 2 of your girls and how deep that went. You did such a great job asking questions, but the podcast artwork was just so cool what the kids were kind of coming up with.
Well, and it's a little bit dicey because you don't want to just be throwing their stuff up online right now. But, there's 2 podcast forums that we've found. So one of the ones, and we're not doing like ours right now, but one of the ones is the Opinion app, and that's super, super student friendly, and it's really easy to record and edit and all of that. And I learned about that actually at a I.c.C conference last year, and I love that app. But the other one that a student told me about was one that I think we talked about at the beginning a couple episodes back, and it's called the Anchor app, and that will put it directly up on Spotify, which is a little bit dicey because you want to be checking these things out. But I had some boys doing one, and they talked all about high-end clothes and fashion for guys, and I just thought that was so cool. And then one of our students, Brady, who's just a scooter boy, he's just a scooter. He was a legend last week because he brought his scooter in. He wanted to do a podcast with video, so I don't know what that falls under, vodcast, I'm not really sure. But he wanted to do his, and he has everything mapped out in his mind about like how he envisions it, and he wanted to talk to other scooterists and different people, and like he does not want to rush this. Like he has all these things that he feels really strongly about, and that's the thing, like it meant something to him. And so he went above and beyond, brought a scooter in, was like just in the zone. He actually bent his scooter a little bit. It wasn't driving correctly, but he was like, I'm going to take it home and fix it. And he came in after he went out to film, and he was just dripping with sweat, and it really wasn't that hot out that day, but he was just,
is an amazing workout, let me tell you.
And so he was just all in. It was the coolest thing. But I just love that this one simple activity can open up so many good conversations. Like you were talking about the girls, that was super cool, just because their point of view was all about from the vantage point of being an 8th grade girl, and just kind of how they see things. And I love that. It's just the conversations you get, it offers them a voice.
And that's what, Flipgrid's great at that. You're great at that. And it's so cool giving the kids a voice. Brady, I think he could be a podcast star. Like,
100%.
Like he attends scooter camps. You might not think those are a real thing. Those are a huge thing. Like, and his big goal this year is to get to Pennsylvania to go to this scooter camp. If he gets all A's, I'm rooting for him. And he's just so passionate and articulate when it comes to scootering. I've been bombing around the neighborhood. I'm pretty sure. I think I have a scooter calf injury. I've been trying to work out more, and the last time I had to take this month off because I have a high calf injury, and I'm pretty sure it might be because I've been riding Ryan's tiny little Razor scooter. And Ryan came in this morning, and he was just talking about. He's like, I got to get this. What kind of scooter was it? Do you remember?
Well, you said Razor, but that's the one that you want him to want, but that wasn't
Lucky.
Oh, okay.
Lucky is the new scooter, and
Ironic there.
so. He's just those things are expensive, and he's like, I got a birthday coming up, and I'm like, we'll see what we can do, buddy, here. But he's just so passionate about it, and he's got my daughter into it. Just yesterday, we were out there. It was hot yesterday. She's bombing on the scooter, and just these kids, the things that they love, and they're inspiring other kids. But I could just see Brady having. All these kids have a truly amazing podcast, and the fact that these kids are getting used to this, getting introduced to this, like, kudos to you. You're doing an amazing job, and that's pretty awesome.
Thanks. Well, you can give them those opportunities. I will say the cool thing about the Anchor app is one of the girls was absent, and so the girl that was kind of left at school was saying, like, can I FaceTime her? I'm freaking out. Why she isn't here? This project's due. But then we realized on the Anchor app, you can invite someone that's at a remote, like someplace else, and they can jump on and record a podcast in different places.
And that's something we've been trying to figure out ourselves.
Yeah.
How cool is that? If we're ever away from each other, can we just record via California or the East Coast?
It would be difficult to do it with these cords and these mics, but with this other app, and that was really cool. And then there's a kid that I have who I really, really just have been really enjoying getting to know this year. And all of a sudden, when I heard he's done podcasts for 2 different assignments, one was for science and then one was for the STEM project, he has such a voice for podcasting, and just the personality and just everything about it. And so I told him today, I really think this is something that you should think about doing. And he had never thought of it, and he really enjoys it. So who knows what will come of that. But I could listen to his voice like for the longest time. He's just got so much enthusiasm, and he's got a very calming voice. It's cool.
Kind of crazy. This is our 13th episode, and it's so much fun that the kids are talking about it. Business partners coming in, like other teachers. It means so much. And now kids are trying to think of like how they could roll this out. Dr. Junis is like, some teachers want to start a podcast. She's like, reach out to Mrs. Schofield, Mr. Lane. They'll help you. And
we would love to.
It's so awesome. I love it. I look forward to Tuesday morning, even though I try not to listen to it. I love going back, listening to our podcast, and I love looking at the recaps there. But students, I'm just excited at what the students are doing and how passionate they are for something that we've loved for a long time. And to get these kids excited is truly the greatest gift, is why we love what we do.
Totally. Yeah. When actually I saw again Carla this morning.
Huge fan.
And she said, "You guys have really got me hooked on podcasts. Now I'm searching for these podcasts. I mean, yours is my first, and then I have these other ones." And
let's keep it that way, Carla.
I know, that's right, Carla. Loyalty, but. It was cool because she said, it hadn't even been on her radar, and now she's like seeking out. She's like, I had no idea there's this whole world of podcasts, and I love to listen to these, and it's just so cool. And she's looking for, that's what she had said about ours early on, is she likes the personality. She likes the personality to shine through, and I guess there's one that she listens to that has a little bit of choice language. So she's looking for something that gives her the same interest. It's like a mystery murder thing, but she wants them to kind of like have the personality, but then clean up their act. So she's looking for a new one, if you know of one that you can suggest to her.
All right. Well, I got to think about my nailed it there. Me and you were off campus on Tuesday. We attended the I.c.C festival kickoff event, big thing here in Arizona, and STEM teachers, science teachers all kind of come together. And then on Friday, so we had a sub plans are my kryptonite. They take a lot of work
especially
to get done.
Yours.
And then me and you, we always talk about like relationships with kids. Like, you have such an amazing like rapport with your kids. Your 8th graders absolutely love you, and when you're a specials teacher, those relationships are a little different. Like they're not like your kids anymore. They're like belong to someone else, but they're still a part of you, and sometimes you forget about that. And, you're like, sometimes you just, you get in that rut and you're kind of going through the motions. And I popped in to Mrs. O the other day. Again, shout out to Carla, one of our biggest fans. I was looking for a book, I'm like, I want to do this like maker kind of like story time I was doing. And she's like, let me look up in Scholastic. She's looking it up there. And then Mrs. Perry's class came in and I got so many hugs. And they're like, Mr. Lane, we missed you. We love Interland. Be internet awesome. Be so kind cute. Online. So just like missing that class, it just like, it meant so much to them. They're like, you're back. And then some kids were like, you need a haircut, which I clearly do.
Hashtag truth.
But these second graders, they were honest. So it just kind of filled my bucket like on the end of the week there for them to just kind of come in and be so excited to see me and, just be talking about class and what they did and when I wasn't there. So,
well, I want to piggyback on what you just said, though, because right before we started recording, I told you about the Moxies coming in today and how they were so excited about first of all, just getting to do Moxie in your room today. It's like a space that they want to be in. But as soon as we walked in, multiple girls said, I love the smell of this room. It's my favorite smell of any place in this school. And it was just like, it makes me so happy. And so like, this is a place that they associate that feeling with. Like, it's a place that they get excited. It's like this comforting, familiar, but a place that they really just love. And I just think that's so cool. Like, and that's a whole group of girls being so geeked up about coming into the STEM lab, being excited to come over, and then just being in the space that you've created.
Well, the funny thing is, like, you have the worst sense of smell.
I have the worst sense of smell.
Followed by me. And like, you had that same exact thought you said walking in.
Right before they did.
You're like, I don't know what it is, but I just love the smell of this room.
I do. Which is saying a lot, because sometimes, you're right, I don't typically have any sense of smell, but I could smell that. And I totally knew what they were talking about as soon as they said it. It was just so funny that they articulated it. But it's that, like, they have that connection to what you offer. And like I said, when I asked how many girls in my group, of 14 girls, how many have ever used Sphero bolts before, and every single hand came up, and they were so excited and enthusiastic. And they said, in Mr. Lane's class I did. So while it might not be a classroom with the same experience, like your reach, we talk about your Twitter reach, which was crazy this week. Like, you look at that, the reach of that is just, it's a huge ripple effect, and it's so far extending. So that's a pretty amazing legacy there.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to do what we do. We love what we do. We work very hard at it, and we love the podcast. We love people listening. We just love it all. We get excited for it. We get pumped up for it. But with that being said, I don't think I'm so excited about your new venture. Like, this past week, I think you were kind of like hitting that wall. Like, the first quarter is coming to an end, and you are doing a lot. You're taking a lot on your plate. There's some thunder there. This is our back-to-back storms here. Yeah. We're recording amidst another. I wish we were outside like those meteorologists.
That'd
like,
be amazing.
Here we are in the midst of the eye.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you might be hearing some thunder in the background. Hopefully, do you turn the gain down? I know you're a big turn the gain down the microphones.
That's true.
But so yeah, we got the storm going here. But you've taken it upon yourself to. What do you say? Are you like the new Gelman of the announcements?
I think that's a really, really big stretch, but we can totally go with that. We can go with that.
All right.
Yeah. So, just it kind of fell into, like, I would say a lot of stuff for you and I falls into our lap. Like, basically, there's a need. Someone kind of nudges us that direction and just says, can you take this? And, I think that for the most part, we tend to just pick those things up because we could see how much it meant to the community feel of our school, teachers and kids and staff. Or I'm sorry, that is it. But, and to the extended people. So like parents are watching their kids and stuff like that. So that's been really cool. So basically I invited the girls to start doing announcements in my room and just kind of thought, how can I help them kind of inject some kind of a different feel and just kind of give them some guidance? And they have the best personalities, like this group of kids.
They're truly amazing
group of kids. And
they've all been working so hard.
Yeah. Well, you and I forgot to watch the announcements, but what I was trying to show you is that even the kid that's editing, Taisho, big shout out to Taisho, he is doing these crazy, amazing things with editing. And I said to him, oh my gosh, I love what you did here, here, and here in this. And I said, I didn't know you knew how to do that. And he goes, yeah, I didn't know I knew how to do that either. I've just been playing around with different ideas. And it was so cool. It was like a zoom in, zoom out, pulls in, like all of these comedic things just within video editing. And I was blown away that he could do that. And he's just making stuff up as he goes. So we're changing up announcements. We're changing up some of the things we're throwing on his plate, kind of that he's having to edit.
There was like 4 kids basically just doing this by themselves. They would record the announcement by themselves. They'd edit it. They'd upload it and get it all ready for the next day. And this is like a truly, you want any project to become like student led. And then the teachers loved all their hard work. We loved everything they were doing, but they just wanted a little adult, and they wanted adults part of the announcements. They wanted to jazzed up a little bit, no dig at the kid. These kids have been, I can't say it enough how hard they've been working.
So hard. But they just needed something, like they needed direction and kind of just like, hey, what if we did this? And they're the face of it. So they're doing that. And your awesome daughter, Z, is a huge part of that. She jumped in. That kid is a natural. Talk about, she's like so well suited for this. And our first couple announcements were, they were just, it got better and better. And then, obviously the Friday, go ahead and talk about that.
And the feedback was great. I even talked to Dina. Miss Hamblin's our 2nd grade teacher, and she's Haley's grandmother. And I was telling her, she said, I love the Friday announcements. And I just said to her, I was like, you've had many conversations. I was like, I just love Mackenzie and Dina. Mackenzie and Haley together. Yeah. And they are like the ultimate tandem. Like there's a 7th grader and a 3rd grader. You would never think that these kids would just like click, and they're just so funny together.
So funny.
They mean so much to each other. Mackenzie looks up to Haley a lot, and it's been so good for Mackenzie. People just so many people would come up to me. And so should we start off with Mondays? I feel like we should start off with Mondays. So what is Mondays?
Okay, well, but the wording is a little bit of a work in progress. So basically Monday, and we have to film ahead of time. So we filmed Mondays on Friday, and everything is bumped back a day, which is a little bit wonky at times. So we're kind of winging that. But Mondays we've called Musical Mondays, and we had 2 staff birthdays today, and so we filmed them serenading with the ukulele, cowbells, and I can't remember. And then the microphone, and that was hilarious. And that's when those editing things came in. You'll just die. And so that's Monday, and then a lot of the day, every day we have National Whatever Day.
Yeah.
And then we have our joke of the day, which I felt really strongly about.
You were passionate.
I was passionate about that.
You're like, people need to laugh. And I'm like, what do you do like a fact today, a riddle of the day? And you're like, nope, I'm sticking to the joke of the day. And
it's been fun.
And it's been fun to see my daughter and Haley kind of deliver those. So it's been kind of funny to kind of see those two go back and forth. All right, what do we have on Wednesday?
Okay, well, Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
Then Tuesday it's something like teacher talk or talking with teachers. I haven't decided what it is, but we're going to interview.
I like the Between the Two Ferns.
I know, but we don't have a fern, and so I need something with the T's. And the kids felt strongly that has to be something with the T with the Tuesday. So I'm still trying to work that out. But what we're going to do,
sipping the tea Tuesdays, like
spilling the tea.
Spilling the tea.
There we go. Spilling the tea. You heard it.
There we go.
See, that was
that's why we work together.
I tell you, full credit goes to
the kids would lose their minds.
Yeah, spilling the tea with teachers.
But that's like the important thing. Like, how many of your 8th graders and 7th graders are now more excited?
They totally
how many
love it.
Kids, you had people pounding down your door just to try to get a recurring role on these announcements, and you're like these jobs are taken, and you're like we might try you out for some guest spots.
Yeah, they do. They want that. Well, even so today I played it in my STEM class. So we've gone away from playing them in the first period because there's a glitch in our plans because PE doesn't have the ability to show announcements. So then we didn't want the 8th graders that are 7th and 8th graders in that group to miss out on announcements. So then those grades were playing it in the afternoon. Well, it just doesn't have the same vibe. So I've decided I'm going to play them in the mornings for my STEM kids, and then I'll probably play them during that last period as well in RTI. And so the kids lost their minds today. They were laughing so hard. They love the Musical Mondays. They love the joke of the day. We did So we'll do Spill the Tea on Tuesdays, but they're trying. I said, when we watch the announcements, we're not just watching the announcements, but we're watching them, and I say, okay, give me feedback. Like, what should we add in to make it more fun for you guys? And so they were really good about saying, oh, I think this and this and this. But then Wednesday
I love
is
Ty Show. Is that how I
Yeah.
say it? You call him Ty, and then he's like, there's just something else. He's like, I don't know what it is. And you're like, just come back to me, and you're like, we're gonna make it perfect.
I mean, he's so invested, and like, he gets excited. He literally never knows what we're passing him on that iPad because it's different all the time. And I just kind of throw it his way, and he just rolls with it. He is amazing.
Well, he came in the end at the end the other day. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. You're gonna start over, and his face is so dejected.
And you would
then he
never
walked
know.
away. And then like when you came to, you're like, yeah, you helped him fix it. I'm like, no, I didn't. I was like, I told him start over.
And that kid didn't even miss a beat. He wasn't even down at all. He was so efficient and amazing. So Wednesdays is one of my favorite segments. It's straight from the mouth of vipers. So we actually need a good thing. So if you could just conjure up a good question. So we ask, so they take the show on the road, and they kind of go out on campus and ask kids a question. So the first one last week was, how do you spell Mr. Galetti's name? Which again, I give you full credit for. It was hilarious.
That was great. And
it was hilarious.
What Ty Show did with the editing, like as each student said the letters, like he had it timed up there perfectly. And to kind of give that effect. We did not have any students correctly spell Mr. Galetti's name, but the good news is no teachers misspelled Mr. Galetti's name.
Except for, did you hear Mrs. Bonham said, oh, there's double T? Which I thought was hilarious. And then Mr. Galetti listened to that episode and he would watch that one, and he was cracking up because he was off campus that day. And I said, make sure you go in and watch it. And he was just cracking up. So that one's really fun.
It's going to be tough to top that one.
It is
really
going to be tough. But we had actually a couple of different ideas that I'll talk to you about later. But so that's, and what I like about that one is we have some new characters coming in for that, like people that are not part of the announcements that want to walk around and be the film crew. So we have a group of girls that just happened to be there last week that walked around with Z and Haley and did it. And they are so invested. They're like, tomorrow's our day that we film for that, so we'll be here, and what time should we be here? And they're like so invested, like they're so invested. And Muhammad too, like what he brings to that filming thing, it's just
Mackenzie was so excited on Friday when she
so
found
funny.
Muhammad was got like a 10-day contract where he's got a trial.
And he's amazing. My favorite part was when she was like, I'd like to sing a duet of You've Got a Friend in Me. I'm like, that's a little long for our first Musical Monday segment. But like she had visions of her and Muhammad singing this beautiful. But so that's Wednesday. And then Thursday, I'm still kind of working it out, but I liked your idea of doing a riddle or some kind of a trivia or something that kids have to grapple with. So I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I think it'll be something like that. And then Friday is obviously, you can go ahead and do that.
Fridays, we're going to do Green Screen Fridays. We rolled out our first one last Friday, and the whole point is that you're using green screen technology. This is a big year for both of us. We've talked about our love of green screen, how much you can do with the iMovie, the Doink app. I don't know if it's Doink or Doink. I assume it's Doink.
I think it's Doink, but I like Doink better.
Yeah, these are great apps, and there's so many different things. So we're going to be like showcasing student green screen projects, like using green screen in the background, doing some wormhole challenges as we kind of film it, doing these different things there. So it's going to be awesome. Like just like the level of announcements and kind of like what we're doing is just gonna be off the charts. I'm just so excited about. And again, I can't take a lot of credit. I was like, I'm so overwhelmed right now. Like the quarter's coming to an end. You can hear my voice cracking and see how stressed I am.
He got all emotional right there.
And I was like, I can do one day, 20%. I was like, I'll give you one day where I go all in on the announcements, and you got to take over the other 4. And you really did that. And, I say this to you all the time, how proud I am of what you do.
Kyle.
And, last week, I know you were kind of like hitting that wall. You're like, I feel like I'm not getting a lot back from like everything I'm putting in, and just like all that feedback from everyone, the staff. Like the staff has just absolutely been glowing about like the different days of the announcements. And, it means a lot to people. And like, when you do things right and like you get that feedback, and, Mrs. Willis, she's just like, I just love seeing Mackenzie's smile on there. And, those are the things that, I tell Mackenzie, I'm like, you just lucked into this role. This is nothing that like I did. Like you just like, we're going to pull you in and you're going to do this. And I was like, you're like one of the youngest anchors ever on the SV News,
and she's crushing it. That's the thing.
And she's had a hard year to kick off here. So it's been good that this is kind of given her voice back, and she's smiling again all the time. And, she's taking pride in this. So as a parent, like, you feel super happy, but then like, you're like, this is not something like I forced upon her. You're just like, all right, you're going to go on, you're going to do this. And it's so cool to kind of see what she's doing as a third grader. But we talk about like, how excited the eighth graders are, like, and like them filming those segments. It's just so exciting. I just can't get over it because I'm like in tears every single time I'm watching these. The Galletti one, like I watched 10 times, and then when Ryan made a cameo, like on your first day, like you cut from like one video, and Ryan just all of a sudden appeared out of nowhere, like no emotion on his face, just standing in the background, like that guy Glenn on the Tom Green show, just sipping his coffee.
Beautiful.
And we watched that dinner time because they were posted on Twitter the day before, and the whole family was just in tears, like just laughing at Ryan about his stoic emotion. But these are the things, like, me and you are sharing them on Twitter. We're getting excited. We're like, I was like, I gotta get that actual video from the Green Screen Friday to tweet out to the Do Inc. and the iMovie.
Oh, I need to get that for you.
But just, I'm just so excited because the teachers are so excited, and the kids, and that's I think one of the hard parts about a K-8 school. Like a lot of times, like a lot of those announcements are geared towards the younger kids, and they complain being in a K-8 school that things are a little too kiddie at times. And we went back and forth with Dr. Chunas of trying to do a middle school announcements and like a K6 or K5 announcements, and just time. It takes a lot of work, and what you've done this like last week is truly amazing in terms of kind of like hitting like all those things there.
Well, and I really am hoping that the Viper mascot might start showing up periodically. I think that would be a really fun guest person. But one thing that I missed,
he'd be great with spilling the tea.
He would be great
spilling the tea with the Viper.
So spilling the tea is 2 truths and a lie with a different staff member every day, and then kids have to guess which one was the lie, and then like tell one of the anchors, which I really liked because we kind of played off of your idea of if a kid figures out what it is at the green screen.
Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about that. Yeah, so then we want the kids to be recognized, like, because these kids are just like such amazing role models who are our anchors, and they're kind of the face of like the morning announcements.
Awesome.
And they truly are awesome. And so we put the Leaning Tower of Pisa up last week, and I had a whole first grade group like, oh, I know where you are. You were in Paris. You were in Paris
hilarious.
there. And so we said, if you can guess this, don't come up to me. Don't come up to you. Come up to one of my anchors. And we gave them like these 3D printed screws, and they were prizes. Did you ever ask Bailey or Isabella if anyone came up?
Nobody did, but I told them. I said, I think as we get used to that whole process, also candy is really popular, I'm just saying. But we wanted it to be something STEM related. So we were thinking if we could come up with kind of something that represents us as kind of the announcement group, or something SV that would be something that would kind of be a hot ticket item.
Yeah.
I think that they'll be fired up.
We need a budget right now. We need a budget for the announcement prizes, but it's like a geography thing, It's like a geography lesson.
Cool. Well, the thing that's a little bit tricky too is my 8th graders don't really intermingle with a lot of the younger classes, so that puts us at a disadvantage for them to do that. That's the only thing that's a little bit tricky. So it's hard for them to be spotted, in those scenarios.
But I think they could find him. That's like the challenge. It's like, where in the world is Bailey? Where in the world is Isabella?
Carmen Santiago. And San Diego. Yep. I nailed that. It's good. I've literally have said that my entire life too. Literally have said that entire life. So I've been consistent. No, but the other thing I was going to say about the thing that I've missed is just celebrating the teachers and their birthdays, and like just seeing teachers and like kind of pulling them in. So I really liked Mrs. Copenhaver. Was awesome. I was like, put her on the spot. I was like, can you be our first teacher? And she was awesome about it. And actually Mrs. Ligori volunteered right away.
Wouldn't expect anything else.
Yeah, Mrs. Ligori though, that was a good, like, she was like, I'll do it. And then once she said that, Mrs. Copenhaver was like, well, I mean, I think I could probably do it. So like, she was amazing today, and I can't wait for people to see that one. But I love that, and I love to be able to celebrate, say, like, hey, your teacher's having a birthday. Like, let's be honest, when we're working, I love birthdays. It doesn't matter where I am. I really get excited.
You
But
do love birthdays.
I do love birthdays.
I hate birthdays.
I know you do, but I really love them, and it's
I don't
just
think there's anything that me and you like disagree more about, and that's
and
the
when
love
I
of
always
birthdays.
make sure to celebrate your birthday, and you hate it, and that's okay. And you always make sure not to celebrate my birthday, and I hate that. So that I think it's working really
so true.
So true.
It hurts, but it's so true.
So it's working so perfectly. I'm just celebrating my
if
birthday.
you're my friend,
Yeah.
if you're my friend, I will not celebrate your birthdays.
Yeah. So, but I love that because I know kids are starting to go out and say that to teachers, and it just feels nice. It feels nice to connect, and I love everything about the announcements. I was a little bit stressed. I told you one day last week because there were no anchors that showed up, and I was thinking, like, what am I even going to do? Like, how am I going to keep this afloat if I don't actually have the kids showing up? Because they have schedules, like, the NJHS and cross country, and they're these awesome, active, super involved kids. Team Connect and all this stuff. So I got a little bit nervous, but it's going to work out. And like you said, if you have to pop in, I have Mackenzie, and it did. It worked out, and it was fine.
So are you feeling refreshed? Are you feeling just like ready to take on this announcement for the whole year?
I really do.
And
I'm
I
super
even told
excited.
you to rein it in a little bit. I was like, all right, we'll roll some things in like piece by piece. We'll get them there. And like you wanted to go like gung ho from day one. You're like, I want the clips back. I want this back. I want to do this. And I was like, all right, let's just take our time. We're gonna work on a couple things, and we're gonna get there.
Might have gone a little bit bonsai, but it's all coming together.
Yeah,
it's all coming together.
The feedback has been amazing, and me and you,
glad.
we love when people fill our buckets and tell us those things.
That's
and
true.
Every teacher's kind of come by and just tells me how much they love the announcements and what they love, and a lot of that credit goes to you. This is definitely an 80-20 relationship, so you're doing most of the work. I said I'd give you the one day, and like I was excited to do the green screen. I always wanted to do something with the green screen.
It's so perfect,
an
too.
iMovie there.
Yeah, I love it.
So that was awesome. Another awesome thing, I'm actually rocking my Astro Camp hoodie right now that you made me buy last year.
Jealous.
Actually, I did pay you for this, right?
You did, 100%.
I did pay you for this. I was like, let's get a T-shirt, and then
the T-shirts were not cool last year.
They weren't.
Sorry.
They were like this off like pink color.
Yeah.
And I absolutely wear it every time I walk my dog early. I was like, I got my Astro Camp hoodie on. Every time I see kids, I see kids at Wet and Wild rocking there. I'm like, they got their Astro Camp gear on. I get all excited.
Not the sweatshirt guy.
Yeah,
it's a T-shirt. Yeah.
But it was just such an amazing trip that we went on last year, and you rolled it out last week and talked about some of the feedback and how excited the kids were.
Wow.
Like you rolled it out on a day that you were doing a lab as well, which is truly amazing.
Yeah, well, I had to, and I was thinking, I'm not sure how I'm going to get this to work, but I'm just going to make sure it works.
And I said wait till Friday because we have our deposit that's due like October. Is it like the 7th?
Yeah, something like that.
To look at a Google Calendar.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, we're gonna do it on Monday. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, let's just wait till Friday. And then you were just like all in. You're like, we're gonna give them 2 weeks before, and you went for it. And tell us how that went when you rolled that out.
It was incredible. Now, because it's year 2, so we don't have to explain really what Astro Camp is, and we don't have to tell them it's awesome. I think that's the big thing. Yeah, they might not know the details, but they know how awesome it is because they heard all kinds of kids coming back last year. Everyone that came and kids that didn't go, they heard how much they regretted that. So this year, it's we again only have a select number of spots, and
we're taking one bus.
Yeah, we're taking one bus, and so in my class that I rolled it out with is a class of 35 kids, and we can take 46 or something like that. So it's going to be competitive, but it was. Last year it was very stressful when I said no technology, no cell phones, and they freaked out at first. And then we kind of talked them down, and for the most part, we had a lot of kids join us regardless. But this year it was a non-issue. They had heard, they said, you mean we'll talk on the bus and we'll play cards and we'll do that? And I was like, yeah. And they said, that's going to be so fun. We never get to do that. So they already have a different mindset in that, and I can't even tell you how excited I am. It always feels like last year we were just holding everything together with string and glue, and there was a lot that we kind of made up as we went as far as timing because things kind of went off the rails as far as our planning of that, having to scramble for a bus on our own and all of that. But this year it's different, and so there's just that anticipation, and now I know what it's like, and I am dying to get back. Every time Astro Camp posts something on Twitter, I am just staring so intently at every part of it and seeing the different counselors, and it just makes me so excited.
No, it truly is amazing. Like this kind of came about from Mrs. DeVargas, who's like our sister school. She teaches at Legend Springs, and she's taking this like trip over, and they were having trouble filling 2 buses, and she came to me. She's like, "Why don't you come with us?" I'm sure I've told this story in the podcast before.
I don't remember.
And then no, okay,
I don't
maybe
think
not.
so.
And then so like I went up one year with them, just kind of get a feel for everything. And she takes her 5th and 6th grade Sage kids, so they get to go 2 years, so they get to kind of experience every single thing.
Except for, hold on, guess what? I have 2 of our kids this year. So they will get to go
For a third time?
A third time.
That is awesome.
How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like those kids are going to be like beasts there. And so, I went up there, experienced it. I'm like, you're not going to get over this. Like our kids are going to lose their minds. And so last year, you hadn't been last year when you were rolling out. So like that was a hard thing to kind of roll out. But just like that last group of kids with the social media, you talk about like their social media and like how excited they were. And you said you've already had like 20 kids that aren't in your advanced class come up to you and asking for like a spot for Astro Camp. And this truly is just like an awesome camp. So Astro Camp, you go to Idlewild, California for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You leave, you miss a day of school. You leave 5 a.m. Friday and you don't get home till like 8 o'clock on Sunday. And it's just the funnest like days that these kids have, things that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, fears, challenges they overcome, the people that they're around. It's just I just can't get over how much fun we had last year. And last year everything was perfect.
It really was. It was perfect.
It was just like a perfect trip, like everything. And like this year, just the number of are we still like at 100% for like chaperones that want to go?
Oh my gosh, we are just barely under 100%. It's going to be a very, very tight race to get into this chaperone spot. We have 4 spots, and I think right now
Me and you
we
both
have,
go, so we take 6 adults.
Yeah, and that we take what they allow us to take. So we've
fought for
maximized.
7.
Yeah, we've maximized as much as they will possibly give us, and it is going to be. And kids they all want their parents, and the parents know. The parents get that this is so cool, so they want to be there. They want to do this.
And the parents take everything in, which I love.
Oh
like
my gosh.
I'm always encouraging parents. Like I love. My favorite thing was you on the what was that one ride? I forgot what it's called. It's
Which
blanking
one?
to me. When you like pull the thing.
Oh my gosh,
what was that called?
what is that called? Now I'm blanking, but it's not the Sky Coaster, right?
No, it is a Sky
Coaster.
Coaster.
That is terrible. Okay. I mean, if you're listening and you're going to Astro Camp, it's awesome. It's super, it's super great. I wasn't freaked out at all. I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I did every single thing though that was out of my comfort zone. Like I don't do small spaces. I am super claustrophobic, and that thing that
You
we
were
went
hilarious.
through.
Long division. Don't give away too much stuff
I won't.
there.
I'm just saying.
Thank goodness
through.
Tom was there.
Both of you on either end, but I will say this.
Long division was fun. The kids loved that.
I loved it, and I actually am excited to go again this year, knowing what I know. And even though that's a big issue for me, I'm still super excited. It just was the most incredible experience. I loved it, and I loved that I could show the kids like, hey, I know you have fears, but like I had fears and I did this, and then they could really say like, oh, that's true,
Yeah.
Lots of kids overcame fears.
That was the first. Like I'm not a height person, and me, I'm a city kid. I'm not an outdoors person by no means, but like I go up there, I embrace it all. I'm like, there's deers. Like look at these deers at breakfast. And the first time I ever zip line was there, and it's just a beautiful zip line. Was that your first time zip line too, or have you been zip line before?
It was so cool.
And you got to like experience that with your son. So I thought that was like the coolest thing. You guys going back to back or side to side there, and just the experience the kids get. And I mean, our last year's group, like they're the, you talk about like negative things about social media, but the fact that these kids are just, they have via podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, whatever they use, it just like that had such an impact of what these kids followed up to them, like really kind of saw, and what they did and what they experienced, and their words. The kids, their student voice is still the most powerful voice in my opinion.
Well, and I had so many kids that went with us that said, if you need someone to come tell kids next year, I will tell you come back. And then one of the students, as I told you, a previous student from 2 years years prior, so before we did this trip. She is obsessed with earth science. She's obsessed with space and all of that. And I had the Astro Camp flyer on my desk, and she's like, "You've got to be kidding me. I can't believe you're taking the kids to Astro Camp. Why didn't you do that when I was here? I would have died. Can I be a chaperone? Can you make that happen?" And I was like, I didn't even know about Astro Camp. So she was saying, "I'm so excited that you're doing that for the kids. Like, I would have loved an experience like that." And, we always talk about that this is the last group at SV that hasn't gone on an overnight camping or trip because of fifth grades taking that on, which is kudos to them because it is a lot of work to go on.
I think
one
the
of those
entire grade level.
Yeah, and that's impressive. So, this is new for them, and they really don't have any frame of reference. It was so cute. I was talking to Mrs. Tanner. I'm sure she'll kill me for saying this, but I was going over some of our Astro Camp paperwork this morning. She goes, "Look how cute, Italy Wild." And I go, "That's Idlewild." And she's like, "Oh." And I said, "Well, I just know that because I'm from California." But she was like so tickled even by the name. And I was thinking, I wonder how many parents think their kids are going to Italy Wild, but it's just totally not something that they've ever done. The things they were most excited about are the things that we talked about with last year's group about what they liked: dorms, the bus ride, and just having that really uninterrupted time, and just that camaraderie part of it.
The food and
the water.
Those kids all came back, and we've talked about this before. And the one thing that was the most powerful thing for these kids was just like having that opportunity to work with kids that they wouldn't. This is the K-8. You think of how many kids have kind of come up together, or kind of come in 7th and 8th grade, and you just like, oh, they're in class together, they work on things, and they were like just working with different kids and getting to know different kids. And I thought that was so cool that was the biggest takeaway from a lot of these kids.
Yeah, they loved that part of it.
Yeah, so I'm so excited. Astro Camp, it's going to be awesome. We're going to fill the bus. I'm just so excited for it, and I feel a lot less stressed than we were last year. This time last year, I think we spent our whole fall break like doing our packet and trying to make sure we were on. You have to get approved if you take a field trip out of state, so you have to get approved by the board. And then, I just sent an email. We got the bus all situated. I'm like, you're like, just do this. I'm like, I will. And you're like, now we got the bus taken care of, so that's awesome. So we have those relationships already, and
everything is so much better this year.
Everyone at Astro Camp loved us last year, like they wouldn't. But we just had an amazing group last year. It was a special group, and this group's going to really have to step up their game if they're going to outdo the last group.
I was like, they cried for the other group, so I'm just saying that's the bar. You need to make them cry, but they loved them, and our kids loved. It was mutual. It was very much a mutual respect. So it was just and it is a trip of a lifetime for these kids. And that's what I was telling some of the kids that were worried about sports conflicts with tournaments, and I get that. I totally get that. And they play at a competitive level at this point. However, you're going to have tournaments, but Astro Camp is probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And so you just kind of have to look at the big picture of that. And again, it ultimately comes down to a personal decision, which I completely respect. But you really want to look at it big picture and see what you're comparing there.
I'm already excited for our Astro Camp podcast. Are we going to do like Phil, Jaden, Caden? We had a student last year actually went to Astro Camp during the summer for like 2 weeks. And when they were rolling that out, they pitched that. I was like, not in a million years would we have a parent drive their kids 5 hours to go to a summer camp. But yep, this kid went there for 2 weeks, had the time of his life. Like when he came in back to teacher. He just had to like come and talk to you and tell you about it. It was truly amazing.
Yeah, it was a huge experience for him, and the student that came back to visit that was like really upset. I did mention that to her. I was like, they do have summer camps. You might want to think about that. But it's just like you forget these kinds of things. Like we put a lot into that, but man, what we saw as the fruits of our labor for that were huge.
I'm so excited. Like I've said that before. Moving on, we've officially had, you've had 2 Moxie sessions. Tell us how the last 2 weeks of Moxie gone. Tell us about this vibe of the girls. And I don't even know how you're going to be able to cram 2 Monday sessions into our talking point, just because I just sat down with you and talked about this last session and your mind was blown. So let's start with session number 1. Again, Moxie Girls is an all-girls computer science and STEM club where me and you started this 4 years ago. This is in year 4. I haven't been able to do it the last 2 years. My kids, I'm just a glorified Uber driver, so
You should really work on your tips.
Yeah,
there.
I should. Between dance, soccer, piano, hockey, you name it, I'm just always on the run, and I just can't make that commitment. But you've carried the torch, and what you're doing for these kids is truly amazing, and I love what you're doing. Tell us about week one. What did you guys do in week one? And tell us about, when we started Moxie, we wanted to have like that startup feel, and like, so snacks was always a big thing.
It's
so
a
like,
huge thing.
we want to give the kids, because they stay until 5, want them to have some time to really kick back and be kids. And like, that's something that you've kind of kept going. The snacks is such a huge part of Moxie.
Such a huge part. And I love that originally when parents, especially when we first started, and we would have parents bring in snacks and they'd be like, well, how many girls are we feeding? And I would always say, like, don't look at the number, because these are very hungry girls. Like everybody's always like, oh, girls don't eat that much. Oh my gosh, they love snack and they eat a lot. Girls eat a lot. So, and I love that about them. But actually, the funny one of my failed it that I forgot to talk about was I've been really trying to be organized. I think both of us have gotten a lot better in the last year or 2 years about trying to organize stuff. And I was putting together the snack list, and I was in the middle of it, and I had the school calendar up, and I was putting dates in based on that. And then one of my kids came and started talking to me, and I forgot to go back in the calendar, so I just started putting in dates on my regular calendar, but not looking at the school calendar. And one of the awesome moms of the Moxies, Mrs. Gorman, was so sweet. And she was like, just so you know, like on this date, we don't actually have school, or this date or this date. And so I had like totally botched that. But, she caught it early, and I appreciated it. And then she felt so bad. But I was like, it takes a village. Like, there's a lot of moving parts to this. So I really appreciated that. But meeting one, I have to say 100%, a totally different vibe this year. So much of it is because of not doing First Lego League. The intensity and the stress level is just not there.
You've seen 100% happier.
Yeah,
like
it's
First
so
Lego
different.
League is like, and like even like when we talked to Dennis and Maggie last week about
They were stressed.
They were stressed. They were stressed. It's an awesome program. I'm not saying it is, but you really need parent involvement. You need 2 adults full time to go for the season, because it literally starts from August when you come back and it goes into January.
Well, and you could take a team, you could do a First Lego League club, but it's hard to do Moxie Girls and have that be First Lego League as well, because then that's all you're doing. And so that part's really hard. And then because you typically have enough to field 2 teams, you're torn. I mean, we talked about that one of the episodes. So just the stress level right off the bat was like 100% down. And then again, my other nailed it is I forgot to send out a reminder to say that we were having our first meeting. So there were several very kind emails.
Off to a great start.
Yes, I am killing it. And so, parents were very sweet, and they were like, did we start? And I was like, oh, I feel so bad. So, we didn't have our full roster last week, but I did touch base with all those parents, and they knew this week would be our first week for them. And so last week we did, per your suggestion, the collaborative art that you had been introduced to by Liz Reyes. Yay. And you did it with your students, and you loved it. And you did it with littles. First grade?
I tried first grade. First grade was a little rough. We needed a little more. They keep asking me where their artwork is to hang up, and we got some kinks going there.
You know what? That's called optimism.
But third grade, this one third grade class, and I only did it like with one third grade class, and they did an amazing job. It's hanging up here. I'm looking at it right now.
It does look really, really awesome.
But I made the mistake of allowing them to tape it. So I was like, all right, let's get together. Let's work this out. And so then it was a little shoddy. I was like, they taped it together, and that was my first lesson is make sure you tape the collaborative art.
And you did tell me that, and I started to do it, but the Moxies really wanted to take that on today, and so I just let them.
The fact that they wanted to come back to it in week 2 is like so awesome.
They wanted to come back to it, and I will say, as I told you, it's perfectly imperfect, and I absolutely love it. And I
Greatest quote right there.
Yeah, I hung it up on my wall. And again, it's too large for the spot, so it comes down almost like kind of a valance on a window. So I'm just embracing all of it. And I told you I didn't want to fuss with the dead spider, so I just stapled it right over the dead spiders. There's so many amazing things that I know are related to this thing hanging up that I just love it. So that's what we did our first one. We did our snack. We did that. We did videos where the kids kind of talked about their views
Those
on
are
STEM.
so powerful. Like,
Yeah.
you truly need to check those out
Yeah,
as you
some
go
really,
on.
really good ones. And okay, so do you want to pause it? Just
Keep going.
So that's what we did the first Moxie, and the girls did awesome, and they like immediately they just had this gelled vibe, you know. And then today when they came in, I again we started with snack, and then they wanted to finish putting this collaborative art thing together, because last time, that was the other thing I failed, was I didn't realize there were two sets, so I made them do the colored one and the one that was just black and white. So they were like taking forever. I felt so bad, the poor kids. And so so we did that, and we just taped the one colored one today, and it was awesome. And then we hung it up, and then I talked to them. Actually, I forgot to tell you, I talked to them about podcasts and about how we do this podcast, and they wanted to know what a podcast is. And so I talked to them about that, and I said, what would be your voice if we were doing Moxie Girls? Like, what do you think would be some valuable things to share with other kids? And so they kind of talked about that, but it's a little bit out of their comfort zone right now, but it's just putting that on their radar. Like, some of them were like, I've never heard of a podcast before. And so it was cool. And then I told them we're going to Mr. Lane's class to do Spheros, and they lost their minds. All the kids had been used Spheros before. The kids love your room. They love how it smells. And, it was just a cool thing. So I said, well, we could do this and this. And they were like, well, can we play? Mr. Lane did Sphero soccer. And I want you to know, I created a new term. And it's called SFIFA. And it's like Sphero FIFA sports. And so that was our thing. And we played that. And the girls were so excited. And they immediately have connected. Like, I have probably a majority of 6th graders. I have, I think, 4 or 5 8th graders. And I have 2 7th graders. And so there's this huge kind of difference in where my ages are, and they just all get along so well. And I love it. I love the enthusiasm. And here's the other difference is we're not talking girls into thinking that they would be good at STEM anymore. They know it. And so they just want to embrace it, and they're very voracious for it, which is a totally different shift for us, right? We're not trying to bring them into that conversation. We're just putting them in these opportunities, and they're just going to thrive. And so that's a really cool thing to see. That is a totally different mentality.
Oh, totally. And you came in, like, right when you walked in, you're like, we're doing big things, like between the two of us and what we're introducing these kids to. It's truly awesome to kind of see them come back and forth and see how excited and their knowledge about these things. Like you said, like, we're like, oh, can we do soccer? And, they want to roll that out there.
No pun
literally.
intended.
Well,
good.
beat me. But, you were just so excited. And, like, I have just every single time I've talked to you after Moxie or seen you, like today, I got to see you right after. So it was so good. Really talk about it. You were just like so excited.
I am so excited just because, like, you don't know, first of all, you don't know what their level of engagement will be. We are really good at getting kids engaged and stuff, and that's something that we're strong in. But, sometimes you really are having to pull those kids, different kids in different years. And it's just it's not like that. They have ownership. They want to be involved. And, I mentioned whatever the drone thing is, I probably didn't roll it out very good, but I mentioned something that Mrs. Grabham, a previous guest on here, had shared. And it's like, programming drones to do some kind of a dance, right? It's like synchronized
drones,
and
which is awesome. But,
so cool, super cool. But I'm nervous.
She's like willing to like
train us and bring people in. It has.
Did she say she's like willing to pay for the cover, the team cover?
I think so. I think she said she would get that covered. So I love this. It's just hard, it's hard to know what to tackle because it's just me. And so I don't want to, I have a full-time job, doing this other, a million other things here. And so I'm really, really trying to not overextend myself, especially with Moxie, because I want to be able to give them my absolute best every time. And if we commit to something, I want to know that I can follow through on that. And so when I mentioned it, I love that one of the girls said, I'm interested. I feel like we're going to need some more information. Maybe they could come in and talk to us, explain it a bit more before we commit to anything. And I was like, I need this girl as my representative, because it was like exactly what I needed to hear.
And if you haven't seen your videos you posted from your first Moxie session, they were truly amazing. Like about the power of girls, their voice, the future. And when you think about the future, like it was in a couple of those videos that you shared, and you tried to do a flip grid and something went wonky on your flip grid. Like, flip grid would have been great for the girls to kind of watch their videos in that live time and, respond and for everyone's voice there. But like the fact that you're able to get those videos and share those videos on Twitter, and it was just so cool kind of seeing like how many people were like retweeting those videos or the views in those videos. And
I love those.
And their words, like, I think the theme of this podcast has gone back to the power of the student voice. Like these kids are, it's a new age of students. It's a new age of what they're able to do. It's a new age of what they're introduced to. And, their voice is going to be that voice. You think of Greta and the climate change. You think of like, one student voice, and I do believe she has autism. I might be wrong. I thought I read that somewhere. But the marches that were going on this past weekend, and like I felt guilty that I didn't partake in any of these marches.
Just say you did, yeah.
I was there among the 300,000. And, like students, they're going to do so many amazing things, like when they're given these opportunities.
And that's what, it was interesting, because when I was telling the girls today about that drone thing, I said, this year and going forward, anything we have the opportunity for, I'm going to roll out to you, because you guys ultimately are the ones that are going to have to do the work. And I want to see what things that get you excited and what things you want to commit to. And I want to respect what things are important to you, what connects for you. And it's their club, yes, it takes effort on our part, but we're just kind of there as a background just to facilitate, because it takes on a life of its own. Like, I actually came up with a new game for Sphera today, but I told the kids, I was like, okay, this is kind of what I'm envisioning, but I think there's going to be a lot of kinks, because usually I don't think things all the way through. I'm kind of like, let's just go with this and see what happens. And they were super cool, and they gave feedback. It was kind of like, have you ever played that game Killer, where there's one killer and the person winks at other people, and if they wink at you, you're dead, but nobody knows who the killer is?
Must be a West Coast thing.
Whatever, dude. Okay.
I played like Manhunt, like Kick the Can,
okay.
like
what is it, Kick the Can? So
going old school.
I love this game, but anyways, so we tried to do a version with Spheros today, and it was turning out pretty cool. And there's kinks, 100%. There's kinks, but they were like problem solving and like, okay, I think next time we'll do this, this, and this. And so they just got excited and did their own thing with it. And I can tell it's going to be very much a collaboration. Them and me together are going to make Moxie whatever it is this year, and I am super grateful, because I couldn't ask for a better group.
No, yeah, you've just been glowing, and it's so cool that like you're not like grabbing all these opportunities or forcing these things down their throat. You're letting them, like, again, going back to our theme, student voice, kind of like having ownership of the direction, and kind of like what we talk about our school year is just like, we just never know where the year is going to take us. And, like the announcements, like we never thought, like,
I would never have thought that.
I was like so happy to get the announcements out of my classroom. I'm like, it's just like, there's 10 people in here. I got my class in here. I'm trying to keep everyone quiet. We're doing it live. And then I was so happy. And then I'm right back into it, because you just never know.
It is really fun.
You never know where the year is going to take you there.
Yeah, it really is. And, again, I feel like things fall into our laps, things that are meant to be. And we love it. Like, we love the things that we get to do like that, and things that we really see what kind of impact that has on the whole school, and definitely the kids, like individual kids. And, Muhammad, the one that they were saying today, he's not always super punctual. And so, but he's committed to be part of this morning announcements crew. And he said, I will tell you right now, I will be here at 7:50, which is a good 40 minutes before the bell rings every day.
That's a lot earlier than I'll be here.
Yeah. And so he's committed, and I know he's I know he's sincere about it, and he has some place to be now, and he feels valued, and he feels like he's bringing something unique, and he's a really awesome
My
kid.
daughter loves him.
Oh, he's
Like
just such a character.
I've never met this individual, but my daughter, just
Love this
her
kid.
face lights up. She thinks he's the funniest person on planet Earth, and it's just kind of so cool. And I just love the fact that so many more students were like, "Can I get on the announcements?" And like, you've done a good job, and like, these are the kids. Like, they had to apply and they worked hard, and there's so much that goes into this, and you're crushing it. I love what you're doing, so I hope your bucket's feeling full.
It is. It's been a good, like, today was pretty awesome. But I will say, spend some time this weekend. A big thing was finding jokes of the day. If anybody has jokes of the day that they want to share that are school appropriate, I'm always looking for those. And then the national holidays, those are killing me. But I've got some
the
good.
Twitter feed. I told you the Twitter feed is great. I think it only goes like 2 days, or there's a calendar there.
No, I found it, and we're all golden now. I spent a lot of time.
So you're on there. I do love those. Like, so many kids came up to me. They're like, "Oh, I love pepperoni pizza. It was National Pepperoni Pizza Day." But we'll be tweeting out the announcements. They're going to get better and better. We're so excited.
So excited.
Moxie girls, you're off next Monday, so you got a little hiatus here.
The girls were bummed.
They were. I bet they were.
Yeah.
We're coming up on a 4-day weekend, and then after that, what do we have? 2 weeks left in the quarter. So we're basically at 2.5 weeks left in the first quarter.
Is it even 2.5 weeks, or is it 1.5 weeks?
Is it less than that? 1.5?
I'm not good. I am not the go-to on this one.
Yes, I'm totally not the go-to on this one, but it's kind of crazy. This is our 13th episode. We love what we're doing. Students are starting to do this, and we just see so much great potential of what students could do, and their reach, via their Twitters or Instagrams. And it's so cool that, this day and age that we kind of live in, and for these opportunities.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, until next week, keep changing the world, people. We are out. If you're like us and you can't get enough of the Nailed It Wall, you can find us on Twitter. You can find me at Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And me at A Positive Proton.